Rats, rats, we are the rats, celebrating yet another birthday bash. Michael, it's your birthday today. Cake and ice cream is on its way. And Michael, been such a good boy this year. Open up your gifts. I forgot how it went in the rest of my head, but yeah, you get the ideal. Hmm. Welcome to day 13 of PMDE. We're still not out of mission 6 yet, unfortunately. So now we get to read a Michael story, or a Mike story. His name is Mike. Hmm. And hopefully this won't be as long as the last one, because the last one took about 3.5 hours. Jesus Christ. Tired. This was the single word on Mike's mind during his entire journey along the very same path taken when he had first journeyed to Tao Village by himself. His feet had trod over many different sensations along the way, from the melting snow covering the ruined Tao village and ranch, to soaked grass between Tao Lake and the neighboring forest, to the many fallen branches of windswept woods, and finally, to the familiar warm patches of thin and thirsty grass that peppered the plains leading to Gambotville. He knew he had arrived at that one place he could remember ever since first opening his eyes. Home. It was a long walk. He had at least walked for about 2.5 days after leaving Castle Draclugia. There wasn't any time for him to take a break along the path. He was simply too tired to rest in unfamiliar territory, as odd as that may have been. Yeah, it's half the length of dates, thankfully. All he had wanted was to go back to his hold on, I'm wiping my eyes. All he had wanted was to go back to his fond abode and rest there. After all, his new home back in Tao Village was destroyed, and he had little to no hope that it would ever be rebuilt. Too tired to think about rebuilding, about sorbet, about anything. Hopefully his old room and the much desirable bed would be where they had previously been. Mike went up to the door of his home as he clenched his claw into a sort of crude lizardy fist. He hesitated to follow up with the expected knocking on the door. Oh man, I almost forgot. Didn't Mom leave me and Sis back in town with a sort of sour note? Man, whatever. If she's gonna scold me, I'll take it. I just want my bed. Mike knocked on the door with a rhythm familiar to his mother and sister, and was greeted with no reply. Aw, that's weird. Mike knocked once more with the very same beat, and again received no reply. It was then that Mike decided to grab a hold of the single handle on the door and pull on it. As he pulled on it, he instantly heard the sound of metal resisting Mike's tug on the door as it barely budged an inch, obviously locked. Wow, Mom's out? Well, I guess I ought to let myself in for the moment. Mike walked around to the left side of the house and searched around the wood for a bit. It should be here. Ah, yeah, in here. Mike placed a claw at a knot in the wood and pulled on it, revealing a hidden compartment within the wood containing a spare key to the house. Feels good to not forget about this little trick. It's nearly impossible to even figure this out. Mike grabbed the key and head back to the front door, where he proceeded to unlock it. So wait, what did he have to do to find that key? Placed a claw at a knot in the wood and pulled on it. Why would you think that would be impossible to figure out? With the turn of the key in its proper keyhole, the metal bars that prevented the door from moving slid away, and Mike was finally granted access to his mother's abode. A deep breath filled his lungs as he entered. The scents that accompanied it were 1 part dust and 9 parts his mother's. Particularly pungent aroma. It was good to be back home to remember her smell. It was as if she hadn't left at all. He simply walked to his room and was glad that it was left practically untouched, albeit a little dusty. His mother was particularly not the kind to clean her own room, much less her son's. It just didn't matter now. All that mattered was shut-eye. Mike pulled a small lever by the side of his door to reveal a sunroof opening in his room that allowed the sun's blistering rays bleach a curved stone platform, which Mike would call his own bed. Sure, he was used to the somewhat plush beds he had back in Tao. They were a different sort of bed, and his own mother and sister have the same sort of bed here too. It's just that for a fire-breathing lizard, nothing could beat baked rock in the constant sunlight. And that was image 1. That was short. How long had it been? Hours? No, not even half an hour. Mike's very brisk nap was torn asunder by the loud noise of the front door being kicked open and the grunting of his mother as she seemed to be dragging. Wait, what was she doing? Mike hopped up to his feet and slowly slithered out his door to see what his mother was up to. As he slowly peeked over the corner from the hallway, he could plainly see what was transpiring. His mother was busy dragging into the house a large Tauros, presumably dead, from the cut made to the neck and the lack of mobility. Not to mention the large amount of crimson red blood that dripped from the cut, as well as from his mother's side? Mom, are you okay? Mike yelled out towards his now startled mother. Mikey boy, what the hell are you doing out here? What the hell are you doing here? Oh god. Now this is the opposite problem. Remember when I said that sometimes in this story they had this problem of putting lines on a different line, making me think that a different person was speaking? This is the opposite effect, where it's dialogue on the same line as a previous dialogue, making me think it's the first character speaking when it's clearly the other character. It's just, are you okay? Look at you. What happened there on your hip? Micah pointed out to the gash at Syrup's side. It was definitely leaking of her blood, and not just the Tauros's. Oh, I guess this guy nicked me good. I didn't even notice that. Syrup licked over bovine prey by the horns and started holding her wounded side as it continued to stain her apron with blood. Also, sorry, I ran out of southern accents. I only had 2. You got Mike, you got Maple. I don't know what to give Syrup. I can't do a southern mother. Come on, let's get you patched up. Hurry! Mike urged his mother into the bathing room and opened a small box that was printed with the motif of an autono's ears. Yeah, don't be in such a rush. I'm not gonna die now. Mike was absolutely, positively, concisely sure that his mother wasn't going to die. It was simply a nick to the side caused by the horde of the Tauros. Boy, I'm mad at myself for getting grazed like that, Micah boy. You know what that means? Syrup yelled as she took a small corked flask sitting in a cabinet and began guzzling its contents. Oh, and speaking of the devil, and it itself will appear. Different line, same speaker. Or is it... Or is it the... I think it's this that's confusing me. God damn it, Mike. Yeah, probably. This was Mike's character. I mean, Queeper's character. No? What does that mean? That you're, alive? Might guess, but it couldn't come up with anything witty while busy stitching the wound. It means I got rusty. I'll tell you though, that Bronto sure was fighting for its life. That means it gotta be extra tasty. Mike was still amazed at how tough his mother was. Even as he continued stitching his mother up, she never did utter any sounds of pain, and even her speech wasn't flinching. It couldn't have been the alcohol her mother was already drinking, for it was too little to do anything. She was just naturally tough as a tank. What does tank mean in this context? Because if it's the RPG kind, then wouldn't that have to originate from actual tanks? Tank word origin. Okay, so in this context... Okay, so in context, the word tank comes from pool or lake for irrigation or drinking water. And then that somehow got adopted into being what we would call tanks in our world. And apparently cistern and reservoir were also put forth as possible cover names before tank was decided on. Yeah, see what I mean when I say that you should choose your words carefully because of depending on the context of the world and all that, because it could imply the existence of some things. I think I was talking to someone earlier on the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon server in Minecraft about how Cyrus has a Crobat and Getsus has a Hydreigon that knows frustration. It's the little details like that that can really bring forth some things in the world or its characters. Anyway, back to the story. There. All done. Mike breathed a sigh of relief as he applied palm tree balm to the sewn-up wound. Good boy, Mikey. Glad to see your first aid skills didn't rust. I'm sure if I wasn't quicker than a Lopunny sprinting for carrots back then, this Bronto would have probably gored me completely. But you would have fixed that up as well. Syrup slapped Mike's back with force as she laughed heartily. It hurt. But then again, it was a good hurt. It brought back fond memories of his childhood, growing up with a very tough mother. Now then, help me bring this meat to the cellar to cool down at least. We can then do something with it a little later. Syrup rose from her stool and headed to the living room while undergoing her stained apron and throwing it into the hamper. Code for Mike, wash this up for me later. Mike followed Syrup, and on the count of 3, Syrup and Mike began tugging the Taurus by its horns. Good thing these were 2 horns, one for each of them to grab a hold of. And man, it was heavy. So, yeah, I know it was my bad, but I couldn't get an opening with this guy. I had to play my cards right, and then taunt him and get close to me so I could deal him a killer hand. Syrup was making light talk as they pulled a heavy mass of flesh toward the cellar. Oh, you mean Knot Slash, right? Mike knew what she was talking about. He knew her moves after all, as he would regularly train with her every week during his childhood. Yep, I sliced his neck clean and he dropped his chips. I guess in the middle of that, he must have had a pair of aces and blew my side a bit. Oh well. The two finally dragged Syrup's prize all the way to the cool cellar. Okay, this ought to be a good place to skin him later. I'm a bit bushed. How about you, Mike boy? As Syrup turned to look at Mike, he was more than bushed. He had fallen to the ground on his tush and fell asleep. He truly was tired, and Syrup could easily perceive that feeling. Oh, Mikey boy, it's good you're home again. Let's go nap. Syrup picked up and cradled Mike into her arms and walked toward her room, not before closing the front door and locking it. Wouldn't want Bandits to easily walk in, now would we? Oh my god, the fourth wall break has influenced Creeper as well. Syrup lied down in her own bed and placed Mike right beside her, removing his hat and easing his head on top of her furry stomach. As Mike instinctively nuzzled the furry warmth of his mother's belly, she nodded off herself. A small, touching welcome to a reunion, a break that would last just for a couple of hours. Alright, let me go and get some drinks because I forgot to do that. I was in such a rush to get here. I also gotta see if I have a certain song in my playlist, because I want to add a new song while I'm reading this. I don't have this song in my playlist? Really? Interesting. Okay. Well, I guess this could be a quick break while I'm getting this song for my playlist. There we go. I'm really quick with the this now that I know what the steps are. I should also go ahead and take a drink while I'm waiting for the download to finish. There we go. Also, good lord, look at how Syrup is drawn in this image. Like, what instructions did Queeper give to Glip? Or if this was Queeper giving instructions to Glip. What was Glip thinking? Yeah, true. Like, that's not my mom, that's a skinwalker. Yeah, what are you talking about, Micah boy? You look like you've seen a ghost. That ain't my mom. A couple of hours had passed. The sun was slowly creeping down back towards the land in its never-ending cycle of day and night. As Syrup snorted her nap, the sun began to shine through the bedroom window, just at the right angle to shine directly into her eyes. Syrup's snore finally stifled and broke the rhythmic pattern, and when she finally woken from her nap, she began to lick her lips. Oh, shuckles. It must be 5 o'clock. Hey, Mikey boy! Syrup began to scratch at Mike's belly, using her claws to incite a slight prickly and ticklish sensation that would wake Mike. It did the trick. Mom, what is it? Mike was just as groggy as his mother, but Syrup aimed to recover from the grogginess without any moment's notice. Hey, come on. Let's get up and start making some quick cash before we get out and buy some dinner. Aren't you hungry? Mike's belly uttered a long, low growl, and at that point, he finally remembered something he forgot for more than 2 days. He hadn't eaten it at all. When home is all you have in mind, nothing else competes, not even food or water. Mike's face blushed with a red deeper than of his own scales. He didn't want to let his stomach talk for him. But before Mike could even start his own sentence, he heard his mother's stomach rumble with a growl more menacing than his own. I guess we're both hungry pals, you and I. Well, if you're gonna just sit there and do no work, might as well get on a dinner plate and serve yourself with some garnish or something, cause I just might have to up and eat ya. Syrup grinned eerily at Mike and paralyzed him with a mean look before she could maintain the face any longer and burst into laughter. Oh, come on. Can't you take a joke, Mikey boy? I didn't want to eat my own kin. She vigorously slapped his back even more as she kept remembering Mike's stern look of fear. Yeah, that was just a joke. Mike tried his best to laugh along with her, but it didn't help that her stomach growled again. Yeah, but it sounds like your stomach thinks otherwise. Even if Syrup was his own mother, he would often recall bedtime stories that Syrup would tell him as she lulled him to sleep. Bedtime stories about the 3 little Mareep and the big bad mighty Yenna, and then stories of her own past adventures. One story that stood out was particularly the one where she slayed a survivor outlaw in town, and then promptly ate him as a stew. It left a bizarre nightmare one night where he was the scared little Mareep, and the mighty Yenna blowing the door down was his own mother. Well, that was just a simple nightmare, and not reality, but just an odd little memory that he couldn't shake off. I guess they tried their best to not make it feel like... Because here's the thing, Queeper has a vor fetish. So, yeah, long withstanding. This has happened for a while. And I guess they were trying to make that not look like anything vor related. And just feel like, oh, it's Pokemon eating other Pokemon. You know, like animals do. And I even think I remember seeing an image where it was like Syrup was about to eat eggs, and then one of the eggs hatched, and it was a Charmander, and that Charmander was Mike. Yeah, something like that. It's a faint memory for me, but it's probably either somewhere on the wiki, somewhere on the Tumblr pages, or something like that. Okay, well, I guess we should get started. What exactly are we gonna do today? Mike sprightly hopped up from his mother's bed and onto his feet. A small nap does do its wonders. Well, Mikey boy, Syrup yawned briefly as she rose up from her bed and began scratching her tufted tush. We'll be skinning and chopping up that Bronco I bagged. He ought to not be so stiff by now. Wow, really? You think we can get it done before the sun sets? Mike was a little shocked at his mother's confidence. He hadn't really expected her to know how to do anything else other than be a mother to 2 children, fight, eat a lot, and apparently kill Pokemon. Yep, now come on and get your fiery butt down to the cellar with me. I'm gonna show you a thing or two today. Syrup popped up to a stand on her 2 hind legs, while stretching her forelegs up high, and then resumed scratching her behind while walking toward the cellar. Mike couldn't help but follow along to assist his mother, intrigued by curiosity and not out of fear from her fake intimidation. Oh, man, that blood trail in the house is pretty messy. Guess I'll have to clean it up after we have dinner. Another drink break. In the cellar, Mike was prompted by his mother to do whatever it was that she wanted him to do. Hold this over here, and give me that knife, as well as nick this spot over here. Surprisingly, after 10 minutes of cutting, they were able to remove all of the fur from the Tauros in one go. A little trick I learned before I had you. Ain't it cool? Syrup admired that her son was always attentive and cooperative. Even more than that, he was fascinated by her knowledge. Now then, bring that pelt over here and let it soak in this water while we start cutting our flanks and such. It still surprises me how much I'm able to scan and read at the same time. Like, sometimes I do fuck it up, but I still get surprised by that. Syrup began chopping up the skinless Tauros and made the proper portions out of it. What used to be a whole Tauros a few hours ago had now become various cuts of steak, ribeye, rump roast, a pelt, horns, and many bones. Very little of the bovine had gone to waste. Mike was still amazed. His mother barely cooked at all, so she would always serve up either pancakes, raw steaks, or eggs, and water. That was all. Anything fancier than that would have to be brought in from the saloon in Gambittville that she would visit from time to time. Come to think of it, Mike had never been to that saloon in town. His mother would never permit it. Oh, I wonder why. Hey, Mikey boy, how's that pelt drying up? Syrup asked Mike as she continued to cut up the Tauros for its succulent beef, all while licking any stray blood that stained her paws. Oh, it's going okay. Mike sat on a small crate, which, while he was dealing with any bones and such that his mother had left him to clean up, ensured that his tail's flame was positioned near the pelt, which was being hunted dry. I think that's Syrup speaking. I'm fine over here. No, that's Mike speaking. Fuck, there it is again. I'm fine over here. Mike also couldn't help but lick the blood off his claws. It tasted delicious. But probably not in the same sense that the reader is accustomed to. What the fuck you mean the reader is accustomed to? Like, that is even more, that is subtle fourth wall breaking. Like, they're not even addressing us, they're just addressing us indirectly. That's what I mean by that. At that point, Mike remembered that back in Tau Village, he knew a handful of guild members and others that were particularly bovine. Even if what he and his mother were doing would be unthinkable to talk about in front of them, what he did at home was what he did at home. At the same time, whatever he did in Tau Village would stay in Tau Village. Unless it somehow leaked out. He wouldn't dare mention to his mother that the many embarrassing details he had suffered. You suffered? Excuse me? You suffered? Right. Perhaps if Mike ever came back to his position as guild leader, he would make sure that none of his easily preyed upon members would go to Gambittville. Oh, I wonder how many that would be. On that note, though, Mike wouldn't have minded devouring a handful of the cuts his mother was busy making. And no, maybe if I could just have a bite right here. Wait, what was he thinking? He shook his head to snap out of it. Clearly being famished had almost brought him to potentially anger his mother. He needed to stop this, or at least try asking. Hey Mom, why can't we just eat these now? Mike whined to his mother in hopes that he could do just that. Aw, don't do that. It's spoil our dinner at the saloon. And there's someone over there I've been dying to show you to. Syrup said as she continued to hack large pieces of beef into manageable sizes. There, I think that's the last of it. I hope you're done over there, because I'm over here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just finished cleaning these bones, and I think the pelt is all nice and toasty. What do you want me to do with them? I think there's a "you" missing in that sentence. Because I'm Southern, and even I know I don't miss the "you" in my sentences when I speak. Mike perked up at the mention of the saloon, as she always had talked about how it was such a grand place. Here's some rope. Put the bones in a bundle and wrap them all inside the pelt. Make sure you tie it up nicely, too. That's our dinner money. I'm gonna just put all this meat into our icebox. Syrup started stacking the pieces of meat inside what looked like a giant wooden box in an orderly manner. It made it look like just the regular wooden box. But inside, it was lined entirely with a thin layer of nevermelt ice, a wondrous substance that kept whatever was stored inside this box chilled. Such a fantastic invention would be incredibly useful in preserving food for days and days, but for a very costly price. Why should it simply be called an ice box? Also, this is like the third mention of nevermelt ice in this story. And they call it an invention, which implies that this is... I think this is man-made? Which if... Yeah, probably like that. I do have this thought though while I was thinking about it, cause like I have mystery dungeons in my story, so would it be fair if I made it so that only that meat would come from those wild Pokemon in the mystery dungeons? I feel like it would be fair because they are mindless and well, that would also have to depend on how they managed to. Yeah, and it's also, in this story in particular, there's no such thing as mystery dungeons, despite it being called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which is kind of a tick that I have, where, why is it called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon if there's no fucking mystery dungeons? Or anything related to the Mystery Dungeon series? Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. I think my brain shattered while I'm watching this stream on the side while talking. Finally, the two of them were complete with their task that would seem macabre to the many herbivorous residents of Tau Village, and just in time too. The sun had fallen halfway into the desert horizon, painting the once blue sky with many hues of orange and red. I remember what I was thinking about. So like, in this story you have... We've also seen it in Fight and Flight, where even the wild Pokemon had like personalities to them. They weren't like wild in the sense that the Mystery Dungeon Pokemon would have, where they are thoughtless and only think about attacking. No, they have personalities, they have names, and it just feels weird that there's like a whole circle of life thing going on. It's outside the villages, while you also have civilized Pokemon within the villages and cities themselves. That's why I think it just feels weird to me. And it's also probably why I'm trying to justify the eating of meat from other Pokemon and from mystery dungeons in my world, because like I mentioned, in Pokemon in mystery dungeons, they're usually brainless, thoughtless, and only care about attacking whatever moves and isn't from their territory. Except for those rare instances that they get recruited. I don't know why that happens in the games. I don't even know if I want to bring that sort of aspect into my story in order to keep that sort of meat-eating aspect there. I don't know, I'll probably think about it more offline. Like, the concept of Mystery Dungeons still intrigues me. With everything prepared, they packed up the goods to sell, locked up the house, and left for Gambitville, which was a good half-hour's walk from home. They had just reached town just as the stars began to slowly glimmer in the sky, and quickly stopped by the local store marked Sundries to make their coin. Mike never noticed it until now, but below the first word, he could see the words Agave Subsidiaries, alongside what looked like a red Kecleon silhouette. Wait, isn't that... No way. Was it related to a certain someone back in Tau Village? Before he could ponder it further, Syrup yelled at him to hurry inside before the store closed, and hurried he did. It didn't take too long. The shopkeeper wanted to close up for the night, so the transaction was made with little effort, and Syrup was giving her blood money. A fairly generous amount at that. No way, blood money, like Hitman. Sorry, that's just a thing that my friend group and I tend to do. We like making references. Pelts and beef were hard to come by in this area, and it was usually easy to tell when a greenhorn hunter wanted to die by proclaiming he or she would attempt taking down a nomadic Tauros of Miltank. By then, either you get lucky or you get dead, because most sorely underestimate the raw power of a Tauros and get trampled or gored. The same went to Miltank, who were more skilled with their fighting stances and would beat you until you were more than just black and white. I guess Agave is always pissed off. That's probably why he retains that red color. Syrup busted through the saloon's doors and shouted out joyfully, "Hey, Donnie pal, where are you? I got someone very special I want to show you." As if she expected her loud voice to be drowned out by the chatter of the many people drinking and card playing and whatnot from the late night business. But to her surprise, she and Mike were the only ones in the saloon. Whoa, where the heck is everyone tonight? Oh yeah, that would be a fair thing. I could see that. Oh, hello, Syrup. Donahue peeked up from below the counter, startled by Syrup's glorious entrance. Savannah's sick tonight, so she couldn't do her show. Figures, they don't have a dame to listen to a crooning tonight. No offense there, Donnie. I hope she gets well soon. Syrup was a little aggravated. She enjoyed being around company, especially those she didn't know. Thanks. I greatly appreciate your sentiments there. My daughter is doing better already with your wishes. Syrup, who is it you wanted to show me to? Donahue rose up from beneath the counter, ready and willing to look at whatever man Syrup had fallen in love with. Here, it's my son. He's gotten old enough to stand his own ground in town. He just came back from work to boot. I want to give him the old experience I had in here. Say hi, Mikey boy. Syrup sidled to the right to show a young Charmander shorter than her and wearing her own hat. Donahue was a little perplexed, but not as much as to make a hypocrite out of him. This is your son? That is interesting. Donahue laughed as hard as he could try. Don't be so dumb, Donnie boy. You're really cute when you try to laugh like that. Syrup saw right through his goodwill and had a good laugh at that. It was that one aspect of Donahue she couldn't help but find to be absolutely adorable. If he wasn't so prickly, she would right up give him a smooch. It's okay, I have an actual daughter of my own too, but she's out of town for the moment. Say, since the joint's all to ourselves tonight, how about you whip some of your hometown cooking and heaping piles of it? I'm sure this will cover it. Syrup tossed a little leather bag full of money straight to Donahue's counter, intending to spend all of it. Thank you very much. Of course, I'd be glad to cook as much as you want for you. Please go have a seat yourselves, and what would you like specifically? Donahue grabbed the bag and placed it underneath the counter and rushed straight to his kitchen. Gosh. Lo mein, egg twist, sechi. I don't know. Those names are too fancy for me. Just give me double of everything on that menu. Syrup grabbed a seat and sat down in a posture that wasn't proper table manners. Mike was slightly embarrassed in the way she spread her legs like that, but at least nobody else was around to see. Wait, did she always sit like that in the past? Oh man. Mike just wanted to eat as well, so he pulled up a chair and sat opposite to where Syrup was seated. Yep, I knew we would get to this line at some point. Let's see. All ages, right? Yes, of course. Gladly. Off I go. Donahue rushed into the kitchen and began cooking with his oriental determination. He was glad that Syrup enjoyed his foreign cooking. He would always cook the same old regular food that the Gambitville inhabitants were used to, but Syrup was one of the very few who loved his natural cooking the most. After a couple of minutes, Donahue arrived to the two's table with a large platter of dishes Mike had never seen before. A lot of noodles and vegetables, but barely any shredded beef or chicken in them. Gonna have to try, I guess. That was just the first part of the menu. The second to pair that will be here shortly. Enjoy! The second to pair that will be here shortly. That is a part of a sentence if I have ever seen it. I'm not even sure if that's proper English or not. Donahue ran back to the kitchen to gladly cook more of the same that he just made. He knew this was barely enough for Syrup to be satisfied with, and perhaps maybe her son too. Alright, let's dig in! Syrup picked up a fork that were placed right next to a pair of what looked like small wooden sticks used for a shish kebab. Were? For a singular noun? Come on. They were always included with the meal, but Syrup never cared enough to know what they were for. All that mattered at the moment was eating, which he was already midway into. Mike was eating the food way slower than Syrup was shoveling into her mouth, but it tasted fantastic! This was a taste he never experienced before in his life. It was really good. But just as he continued eating, his mother would take breaks from loudly slurping, munching, and gnashing the food as she quickly swallowed it, and would say a few words. Mikey boy, you better eat faster than that, or else I'll eat everything in the table before you even get a chance to. Line up and just dig in, okay? Mike was just too used to eating conservatively back in Tao Village. When one barely had an allowance, one didn't have the luxury of eating quite as much food as he could at that very moment. But that was back there, and this is home. And when that thought, he began eating at the same pace he would in his childhood, and joyfully ate and ate. The food here was too good to not be eaten, and Mike was starving. He aimed to at least reach at least half of his mother's voracious appetite. That only took 2 hours before the dinner was completely devoured. Wow, 2 hours? Weak. Mike could barely eat only a quarter of the food before it went down Syrup's gullet. At least it was a new personal record for him. Aw man, that stuff hits a spot all the time, but we gotta get going, otherwise I'm just gonna keep eating more food here and break the chair. Come on, Mikey boy. Syrup slowly rose up from her seat carefully and grabbed the apron she untied during dinner to give way to her engorged belly and walked out. Thanks for the meal, and we'll see you again sometime soon, Donnie boy. Yep. Yeah. Mike slowly got off the chair and proceeded to follow his pleasantly plump mother out the door. Why would you describe her like that? But he had to at least make a small bow to Donahue before leaving. Thanks, it was really tasty, and I'm glad to have met you. Mike could have bowed a little more, but it was hard to with all the food in his stomach. He was looking forward to walking for a half an hour home. He just wanted to rest. Oh well. You too. Donahue was less than reluctant to clean the pile of plates equivalent to the amount of a regular bustling night's worth on the table, but he was glad to see Syrup's face again. Even if she was rude, mannerless, and downright dirty, she always looked out for him and saved the spikes from being trimmed more than a couple of times. As Mike and Syrup walked home, they were getting drowsy from having all that food sit in their stomach. It was hard to even be doing anything other than just falling asleep underneath the night sky, but that was too dangerous to do so in the middle of nowhere, so in order to keep awake, Syrup began a small conversation with Mike. So, how have you been? More like a very light conversation coming from Syrup's mouth. I'm fine, Mike nervously said as he tried to keep up with Syrup's walking pace. Really now? Well, I guess that's all you're gonna say, for now. Syrup knew something had been troubling Mike. Even the fact that he came home was proof enough, but she knew nobody would be talkative about it on the first day. She'd bide her time until Mike cracked and finally talked to her, and until then, he should at least relax for a week or more. A very simple healing process. Something had been on Mike's mind for so long that he couldn't keep it in him any longer. Hey, Mom, aren't you mad that I became a rescuer instead of a rogue like you always wanted me to be? Syrup was a little silent for more than a few seconds, making Mike worried that he had signed a death wish. But then she finally uttered something. Son, I was itching for you to be a rogue, just so you could have the kind of fun I had when I was your age. But I guess I was too busy seeing myself in you that I forgot that you already had something fun in your life. And it's rescuing. I'm sorry for being such a stick in the mud, so I decided to let you do whatever you want. Hope you can forgive me for putting such pressure on you. Mike was just stunned, flabbergasted. He couldn't believe that his mother had come to terms with him being a rescuer, and he felt completely ashamed that he wanted to quit being a rescuer. Mom, listen, but before anything else could be uttered from Mike, Syrup had some more to say. Listen, I know you're in a tight spot at the moment. It's why you came home without Maple, but it'll be okay. Just stay for as long as you like until you feel ready to get back to rescuing. But for now, let's just enjoy ourselves. Oh, so she doesn't know that Chill left. Mike sighed with relief. His mom saw right through him, and he was glad that she was able to do so. She was his own mother, after all. Thanks. Don't thank me yet! Syrup suddenly lifted Mike from his tail and hanged upside down. It was a completely uncomfortable spot to be in, especially with all the food in his stomach. You better tell me my little girl Maple's doing all right. Why is there a question mark at the end? That's not the type of statement that warrants a question mark, is it? The light coming from Mike's own tail made Syrup's face glower in an eerie light, and transformed her momentarily from mother to a monster. Of course, she's alright. She's with her boyfriend right now, so she's all okay. Really? Mike tried to say anything that would make Syrup let him go, and it did the trick, as he fell as he fell with a thud to the dusty ground. Ouch. Of course she is. I rested tougher than you are, so she must be fine. Right, all's well, and look, we're already home. Syrup ran up to the front door and unlocked it so she could hurry to bed. She was definitely tired and wanted to lay down and rest so she could let all the food digest in her belly. You coming in? Yeah, I'm coming. Mike walked up to the house and closed the door, locking it. He was also tired, and he walked towards his room. But before he could settle into his own bed, he heard very loud snoring from his mother's room, already a step ahead of him into slumberland. Mike wanted to sleep in his own bed, but he decided she deserved another break, and went to sleep with her so she wouldn't feel lonely tonight. Oh boy. A day short of a week had passed. Not much had honestly been done, except for Mike just lounging in his sun-baked rock of a bed as he tried to relax and take it easy. Concepts that almost became foreign to him when he lived in Tao Village. Say, speaking of living in Tao Village, was he really going to go back there? He knew that he felt obliged to Fresnel and Maple before he left, but was it really a promise that he was bound to? What if Mike never returned to Tao Village? Sure, more than a handful of people, well, no, more like almost everyone would think poorly of him. But then again, it wasn't like he wasn't always being judged either way. Too complicated. Mike knew he had a lot of qualms he needed to figure out and decide upon, but the easiest thing to decide and act upon was to fill his stomach. It's dinner time, and he was hungry for another fresh egg. This guy's a fucking loser. And a poor excuse at a Why was Chill wanting to form a guild with him? What did Chill see in him? Cause I don't see jack shit. That had been the schedule with him and his mother after their grand welcome home dinner. Never see each other the whole day until it was either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And only then would they see each other and eat a short meal and go back to their respective rooms. Mike still didn't feel like being talkative, and that was bad. It created an unnecessary tension in the household. Maybe one day, like tomorrow, he'd be a little more open with his mother. Or maybe... Wait, where is she? She was nowhere to be seen around the dinner table. Mike wandered around the house and looked through the other rooms. Not in the guest room, nor her own room, or Maple's. How about, maybe the outhouse outside? No, maybe he should just wait at the dinner table. A good idea. A good idea. Oh, I am not familiar with Transformers, sorry. Mike wandered around the house and looked through the other rooms. Not in the guest room, nor in her own room. Or Maple. Oh wait, I already read that. That's right, it's the next sentence. That is, if it didn't become obvious that she was in the cellar as she roared in disgust. What was going on in there? Mike ran down to the cellar to see his mother fervently spitting at the floor with an unmarked bottle in her hand. Tarnation, this is awful. Awful. Syrup was doing all her best to remove the foul taste from her mouth, that she even began licking her furry arm as a sort of makeshift brush. Makeshift brush, right. Mom? What's going on? Mike walked down the stairs into the cellar with increased curiosity. Oh, hello there, Mikey boy. Syrup's unusually colored tongue hanged out of her mouth as she tried her best to talk. Hold on, can you hand me some water? Syrup pointed toward the faucet that was situated off to the corner of the cellar, and Mike got the idea and poured some water into a bucket. Mike glugged down the water, swished it in her mouth, and then spit it back out into the bucket. Ah, finally! That tastes were more rancid than that milkshake I had back then as a dare. Did I ever tell you about that one, Mikey boy? That sounded like a terrible story to stomach right before dinner, and Mike couldn't bear to hear it at the moment. Maybe some other time, Mom. But, how about you tell me what the care you were doing here? Oh, this thing? Well, when you and Maple left me to live in Towel Village, I up and got bored and decided to try some hobbies or two. Syrup held up the bottle she had in her hand. This here's some of what I made, but, well, as you can see, it's skunked and it's awful. Maybe I should have looked at it before leaping in. Mike was handed the bottle, and he looked at the contents. It was as purple as his mother's fur, but there was a sickly tinge of brown and green and other unsavory colors as he looked at it closer. He knew that brews of many liquor were of many bright, dark, and flavorful colors that came from the berries, as he saw them on Hops' shelves, but this looked absolutely awful. Yeah, don't drink that. It's awful, and it's so coarse, it's like molasses. It'll stick to your tongue. Blech. Syrup took the bottle from Mike's hand and threw it in the bucket, shattering the glass flask. Yeah, good thing that were just one of many. I hope the others I made ought to ferment better than this one. Why would you break the glass like that? Didn't this entire story establish that lenses and likely glass in general was not cheap? Syrup pointed behind her toward a crate labeled brew full of large corked glass flasks. Alright then, let's get up and double on dinner tonight. But hey, Mikey boy, how about we talk about you tonight? As Mike walked up the stairs, he couldn't bear to think about that, much less talk about it. I don't know, Mom. Maybe I'm gonna go get the table all set up. Mike hurried up the stairs to prepare the dinner table. Yeah, why not a wooden flask? Didn't people back then used to drink out of wood flasks? As Mike walked up the stairs, he couldn't bear to think about that, much less talk about it. I don't know, Mom. I'm gonna go get the table all set up. Mike hurried up the stairs to prepare the dinner table. That's how it's gonna be, eh, Mikey boy? Syrup was less than amused at that reaction, and impatience got the best of her as she grabbed a large jug from a crate labeled Gambitville Sundries. Tonight's gonna be a special night. Okay! Syrup carried the jug with her upstairs as she went to barely prepare dinner for the both of them. Oh yeah, true. Coconuts would be good. What coconuts exist in the Pokemon world? Did they exist in the Pokemon world at some point? Probably could have been in the anime at some point. Sounds like it would have been in the Sun and Moon anime, but I've never watched it. Tonight's dinner was the same as it was. Just double the helping of raw eggs, stale biscuits from the town store, and beef jerky, also from the town store. But Mike didn't mind. Wait, isn't beef jerky the type of thing you sort of make, or is that something that you could just get from animals? Because I had some beef jerky and it did not taste like something that you would just get from an animal. It tasted like something that you had to like flavor and all that. What I'm essentially saying is, isn't beef jerky a meal technically? Also, when I did try beef jerky, I had to take bites minutes at a time because of the aftertaste. I felt that if I ate it too quickly, I would throw up. Yeah, beef jerky has that kind of mixed taste for me. It's good the first time, but it's not something that I would just gobble down. Like I said, I had to take it bites at a time within minutes apart, so I could finish it while also still enjoying it. But Mike didn't mind. As long as the eggs had their savory yolk, he didn't mind if they were raw or not. But regardless of dinner, no talking ever happened during the course of it, until... Thanks, Mom. That was tasty. I guess it's time to hit the sack. Late, Mike tried to sneak away from the chair, but was stopped by his mother. Nuh-uh, you ain't going nowhere tonight. It's time we did a talk, heart to heart, my way. Syrup sat Mike back down as she slammed a large corked ceramic jug into the middle of the table with 2 glass cups. We're drinking tonight, and I plainly know that if you get to drinking, then your lips will be loosened and loudjets. What was the beef jerky that I did eat, though? Because, was it Jack Link's, or was it... I think it might have been Jack... No, wait, I know what I ate now. It was a Slim Jim, that's right. I ate a Slim Jim. So yeah, that was what was, it was like, it was good at first, but then... It's like, when you savor it in... Then it's like, But I mean, I would still eat a Slim Jim even after that experience, if someone handed me one. Anyway, what? No way, Mom. I know you love drinking a whole lot, but I don't think it's right for me. But I don't think it's fit for me. Not right now either. I'm not even in the mood. Mike tried to get up from his chair, but was interrupted as his mother laid her claw on his shoulder forcibly. Now, Mikey boy, I think you have been easing yourself a little too much lately, so you should listen to your mother's advice, especially now more than ever. Syrup put on an assuring, if somewhat intimidating, look at Mike. The latter definitely worked, as Mike didn't even want to look at her face directly. But as he could open his mouth to speak, his mother preemptively stopped him. Now, you remember what happens if you don't listen to your mother? I'm sure you don't want the spittoon treatment again, now do ya? Mike reeled back and abandoned all hope for escaping drinking times with his mother. Nothing was worse than the spittoon treatment, and he didn't want to relive it. Belligerent children who talk back to the mother or behave poorly often had their punishments, such as their mouth washed with soap. That is, if they had mothers. Syrup was different. She knew the best punishment would be the one that would not only make her children think not only twice, but at least 10 times before committing what she would consider a misdeed after they suffered it. The spittoon treatment was a vile punishment indeed, as she would spit into a glass laced with a potent purplish poison, and then have the guilty forced to drink it. It wasn't the fact that it was gross, but it was more so that the poison would rack their innards, guaranteeing them to be out of commission for a few days. No, I'll drink with you, if you put it like that. Doesn't that sound like child abuse to me? Forcing your own child to drink poison? God damn. And it's like, he's not a poison type, so he can't be immune to it. God. That's cruel. Well now, Syrup grabbed the large ceramic jug and uncorked it. Pick your favorite glass and bring it here. Mike simply grabbed one of the 2 smaller glasses and brought it closer to Syrup as she poured an opaque indigo liquid into it. Oh, figures it'd be corn bun whiskey. It's a favorite. He brought the cup to him only to stare at it, wishing it to be anything else to make this occasion special, even if he didn't want it. Well, get going. That drink ain't gonna get in your belly all by itself. Syrup nudged Mike in the shoulder to incite a reaction from him. Yeah, I will. Mike didn't really drink much, as he was fairly new at it. The last and first time he drank was back in Tau Village during its Guild Appreciation Day, but that was only very light drinking. Oh, so that part of the event is canon now? It was only to feel the fizz and such, as Chill and the others were drinking in the spirit of the party. Well, might as well do it. Anything beats Mom's spit. Mike swiveled the colorful drink into his maw to down it as fast as possible. It was sweet, but mostly dry. He would have appreciated those flavors, if only they weren't being masked by a terrible burn alcohol usually inflicts. Mike almost gagged, but managed the down the entire glass in one gulp. I think that the is supposed to be a 2. Good. Felt great, eh? Put a little, scales on your scales, right? Well, here, it's time for a second glass. Mike panted from the shock of the taste as he gave the glass to her to pour more of the same excruciating brew for him to swallow. More? I don't want to do this anymore. He pulled the filled glass back to him and gulped it down once again. Still the same burn, but it felt less intense than before. But he didn't pay it any mind as he started feeling strange. His arms and legs felt lighter, and so did his head. Was this what being drunk was like? It felt surreal, but a bit nice at the same time. Whoa there! I think you're almost there, Mikey boy. But I think another glass or two ought to do the trick. Syrup continued pouring Mike more glasses of the corn-burned whiskey, and then she began drinking it herself straight from the jug, without the use of a glass. Mike downed his third and fourth glass with ease, no longer troubled with the sting of alcohol, and continued to feel distant and calm. Whoa, that's different. Syrup was surprised by the flame on Mike's tail. As his mother, she noticed the many emotions Mike had as he grew up, and the way the fire on his tail responded to such emotions. This, however, was new to her, as the flame itself looked calm. How you doing there, Mikey boy? I'm feeling pretty good. Mike was drunk, alright. Man, this feels so weird, but amazing. No wonder you drink a lot. Syrup put her lips to the jar's mouth to guzzle more of the corn-bond whiskey. So, Mikey boy, how's about telling me why you came back? No, wait. How was Dow Village like? Start there. Syrup's crude plan revealed itself. Well, okay. Mike put the glass in his claws to rest on the table to begin speaking. It, started when I sneaked out of the house because I thought you weren't going to like that I want to be a rescuer. Mom, sorry. Don't worry, Mikey boy. I did the same thing when I was your age. Anyways, Syrup lounged back on the chair, placing her feet on the table while she continued to guzzle down the whiskey. Well, so I came to Tao Village and everyone was so mean to me. PK. That purple lizard girl, right? The one with that huge ice dragon and all? Syrup stopped nursing the jug for a brief moment to interrupt Mike. Yeah, her. Her. She swindled me of all my money and then left me to deal with Devonshire and... that's right. Mike started fussing, bringing up bad memories already. Hey now, things didn't have to be all bad, right? What about that, chill fella? Syrup had to rescue Mike before he descended to sadness. Oh, him? Yeah, chill. Mike slumped his head on the table surface in protest to his mother's words. Well, what's the matter, Mikey boy? Syrup tapped on Mike's back with a single claw. Nothing. It's nothing. Except, Chill was this guy I looked up and... Hey, remember way back when I was a kid and Maple was, well, you know... Mike raised to an upright position to make a gesture with his claws to that of an oval. When she were only an egg... Nah, even before that. I know what you're gonna tell me. Chill was actually that Minchino who saved you when you were stolen from me back then. Ain't you right? What? How'd you know that, Mom? Syrup took another guzzle from the whiskey jug. Sorry. Shuckles, even if I didn't go to school or anything back then, it ain't that hard to put two and two together. Yeah, of course you knew that. This was the first he ever heard of this, actually. Wait, so school exists in this world. Tao Village does not have a school. It only has, a daycare. Anyways, so, yeah, I was so surprised to see him there. He was my hero. Of course I looked up to him, and that stunt he pulled. It's what made me want to even be a rescuer at all. Yeah, and if I weren't so full of Maple back then and saved you myself, I bet you would be singing a different tale now. But anyways, Syrup gestured her claw to have Mike continue on as she continued drinking. Well, so, Jill wanted to start a rescuers guild in Tao Village, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course I want to be the co-leader working with you. And he said something like, yeah, bro, man, if he really was a bro, I don't know, cause like, Mike started to fidget in his chair. Like, after a few days, he told me he wanted to set an allowance for me so we can save money. Sure, I said. And then the next day, as I ate nothing but noodles, I see him prancing around the village, wooing every girl with his glint in his eyes. Wait, I'm not even sure he has eyes. Whatever, point is he's got every girl in the village, brought them whatever they wanted like dinner, while I get stuck with gruel and nothing. What is it this time, Maki boy? Syrup was somewhat annoyed, not at her son's tears forming in the corner of her eyes, but at the fact that she drank the jug empty. I was sure to have more around here. Syrup got up from her chair to open the cabinet right next to the table. Yeah. Mike laid his face straight down as best as he could on the table surface, even if his snout wouldn't permit it. Mom, you know how you wanted me to find the love of my life and get together and have children of our own, right? Mm-hmm. Syrup continued to rummage through the cabinet. Well, do you think it's possible that I'll never find someone special in my life? Yes! Syrup was happy as she plucked a glass bottle full of a differently colored liquid. As she turned around, she was surprised to see Mike silently sobbing. That was when, after a long delay, that it finally hit her. Oh, no, I didn't mean that, Mikey boy. Syrup quickly went behind Mike and started rubbing at his back in order to calm him down, to at least stop him from crying pathetically. Come on, there's never a never, ever. It all starts with feelings. Did you have any feelings for somebody back over there? Almond? Mike sniffled. Who? That sounds strangely familiar. Almost like something from a ransom note or something from the menu. She doesn't matter anymore. She's gone now. Left after stealing my hat and then I got it back. So, yeah, remember that scrap thief from Mission 1? Yeah, apparently she has a name. And she was never brought back up in the story ever again. Probably because Queeper wanted her to be in the story, but Glib was like, no, nah. I told you that hat's lucky. Well, except for that one part anyways. Syrup went back to her chair to start on her next container of alcohol. But I think you're not a one-lady man, you know? Isn't there anyone else? God, true. Mike tried to think hard to compose a list of names in his head, but it was difficult to do so when one is intoxicated. Ruben? Nah, her head's in the air. Auntie? No, I think she mentioned something about being married. Udon? No, she got mad at me. Merlot? No, wait, no, how? How? Even if she is giant. Oh, After a minute of silence, Mike finally came up with a name. Well, there's PK. Oh, that crazy merchant lizard girl with the ice dragon, right? Makes sense. She's a Lizzie. You're a Lizzie. Syrup started to fiddle with the fur on the side of her face. Say, did you at least try to getting her attention? How about that tall dragon she had? He seems nice. Oh, Sorbet. He's something. Yeah, all dragons are something, alright. Large and... ooh. Syrup giggled with outlandish thoughts. Oh my fucking god! Well, as for PK, she, man, she's the hardest to even try. I mean, she's like the hardest to even try. Every time I try to get her attention, she's like, Mike, you idiot, or like, Mike, where's my money, or Mike, no discounts, in fact, you pay double this time, or Mike, don't talk to me unless you have cake or something, or Mike, this cake is so stale, what did you even buy, a bargain one, pathetic, or gee, I'm full, that's at least an F of a cake if I ever had something even worse, or Man, Mike, this ice cream isn't even 5 scoops. What are you, a baby? Or bend over. This'll hurt you in a good way. Or wait, what the fuck did that happen? Wait. Jesus Christ, Mike. Did PK give you like colonoscopy or something? God. Do I have to play the bend over song? You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do just that. I feel like this is one of those moments where I have to bring up that song again. Exactly. It just never stops. The sex never stops. Why? When will it end? Syrup's face grimaced as she got the message. This PK was a dangerous girl, and she would break Mike's heart in half quite easily. And it sounded like it happened already. Say, Mikey boy, you sure you like her? It sure sounds like she were stepping all over ya. Well, she actually did that to me once. I feel kind of nice, you know, but not like that, but like that, you know? Mike started to blush. Oh. I didn't realize that I raised my son to be a wimp in bed. Oh. Well, I ain't gonna judge him, but I don't think I'll grant kids out of him if he keeps it up. Oh, so they just outright mentioned it here. What the fuck? God. What? Now there's probably gonna be kids asking, okay, what does it mean to be a wimp in bed? That is just unfortunate. Like, people, when they talk about the PMD-E era of Glib's history, they bring up Resonation, but they don't bring up this shit at all! Like, this was out in broad daylight, and nobody had the gall to ask about it! Like... Yeah. Syrup could only guzzle more of the alcohol down silently, she thought to herself, but she had to change the subject a little. So, Mikey boy, that PK sounds nice, but there's others, right? Well, maybe, if only Chill wasn't like some super duper chick magnet. Mike flumped his own back to the chair's back. Yeah, see? Syrup pointed at Mike. That ain't gonna flag on while he's disrespecting you at least. He should at least cool it and let you breathe a little. You should talk to him, you know? Well, it's kinda hard to when Chill left the rescuers and made me leader. Mike tilted his head downward. Say, what? Well, I mean, maybe that ain't such a good idea to leave while you're appointed leader of the rescuers, but him dumping the work on you? I'm proud of your promotion, sure, but what? What was so important that he had to leave? Well, his sister got hurt really bad when he was doing business in his hometown, Snowy Village, and now she can't walk anymore. Oh? Syrup could only drink solemnly to that. Well, I feel bad for him, honestly. I looked up to him, even if it was sort of obnoxious at times. But to see him leave like that, the mood permeating the air turned into a sinking feeling. If anything Syrup could do, it was breaking the ice. Well, at least you're a full-fledged leader now. Maybe the respect ought to start coming your way now. And the ladies too, eh? That can't be all bad now. It's still the same, except now I have the pressure of being judged by everyone even more, and I still don't get noticed. Not even PK. I wish she would say nice words to me at least once. Oh well, at least she has a tall drink of a tea man that she loves. I envy him. You know what you need? You need to make your own you need to make your own respect with some intimidation. Kinda like how I saddle into Gametville. I mean, sure, they all called me a man-eater for a week or two, but afterwards, a lot of men couldn't stop staring at my behind. Syrup snapped her 2 digits together. That's it. We gotta find you an outlaw you can hunt and eat. And then they'll pay attention to you, Mikey boy. Mike passed out on the table. Guess that was a little too much for you, eh? Syrup lifted herself from her chair and cradled Mike into her arms. clumsily bring him to his own room and laid him on a stony bed. Nighty night, Mike. Sierra retired to her own room and fell soundly asleep. Oh, wait. Huh? Where was he? Mike wasn't sure where he was or how he even got to this location, if you could even call it one. Was it even a place or not? He was unsure. All he could make out was a vastness of white and nothing more. Was he lost? Mike felt a strong pull from the bottom of his heart. His desire to discover in this unusual space was encroaching his willpower. Wherever he was, he just had to go onward, and he did. But it was hard to tell if he was going forward or anywhere at all. He couldn't really tell if he had a body or not, even legs or himself. Was he walking? Floating in the pure abyss? It felt impossible to even coordinate if he was moving at all, but he did. As he continued onward, he suddenly felt streaming waves of heat blasting at him. He could feel it in his extremities. Wait, he could feel it in his arms and legs, even his face. Yes, he had his body at least. No one would want to lose that. All was well if he had his body. He surely was alive. He hoped. That was until suddenly, all the white surroundings suddenly melted into a deep red, and he was scorching with an intense heat that he could swear was hotter than the sun. He was burning away, but as he struggled to maintain himself with no guarantee he'd ever live, he kept conscious for as long as he could. And then, it happened. Amid all the crimson red, two blue objects appeared before him. Eyes? Even if he only had a split second, he could definitely feel that he was being stared down by some higher being. If these even belonged to someone or something. But it was too late for words or thoughts. His entire self gave out and he succumbed to the intense heat. Yeah, I read that right. Everything faded to darkness, the polar opposite of what he considered was life, as he burned away. There was nothing more of him that remained. Not even dust or ash. Not even his own existence. He had become nothing. That was when Mike fell to the hard floor face first from his stony bed and awoke. I still feel like Mike is the result of, you know, in D&D when there's that one player who plays to win the game, you know, get all the crazy loot, get a girlfriend, be the one that stands out from the group, all of that. That's what Mike is. Holy shit, what happened to that person's model? Sorry, distracted by stream. Ugh, what was that? Mike was definitely awakened from that horrid nightmare, dream, whatever it was. It felt real, it felt surreal, but the sight of it was etched into his very heart and soul, as well as his pounding head, and full bladder, and his nostrils that screamed with the smell of burning. Oh crap. Mike knew too well that whenever he had any exciting dreams, his body would respond to it. Sometimes in more ways than one, namely the fire on his tail could have sparked something. Where is it? Ah, my head! Having the terrible burning smell coupling with head-splitting pain was not enjoyable, but at least with quick glances, the smell did not emanate from his room, which could mean it might have come from... Mike dashed through his bedroom door to see his mother cooking something incredibly black in a pan. Morning, Mikey boy! Well, I try to do something for you, but, you know, I ain't too good at this sort of stuff, still. Upon another glance, it was obvious with the eggshells littering the floor, the black remains in the pan were burning eggs. It's okay, bathroom, no time. Mike felt his bladder wanting to explode from pressure as he dashed outside to go relieve himself in the outhouse. After Mike did his natural duty, he returned back to the kitchen table to have whatever his mother prepared for him. Okay, so now we have the first time that piss makes a mention in the story. First we have the fluid, then we have shit, and now we have piss. All of the natural human body stuff is here. It is canon in the story. You can pee. I don't know why, but the statement, it's canon, you can pee, it's just so funny to me. What's next? Are they gonna make diarrhea canon? Well, Mike boy, how you doing? Syrup laid plates down and poured water in a cup for the both of them with a humming note. Wait, I know which they should make canon next. Dysentery. Ah, head hurts. Mike's head started to pound even harder as his first hangover greeted his first experience with alcohol intoxication. Huh? Oh, I forgot that you don't have the same kind of liver me and Maple have. Syrup began to rummage through a cupboard and pulled a small, hand-sized glass flask, half filled with a pale golden liquid. Here, drink this. It'll fix what's troubling you, but you might want to drink it all without stopping, as it's pretty powerful stuff. Syrup handed over the liquid to Mike, as he took his mother's advice to drink it without hesitation. It was a good thing he did so, as he almost gagged from the incredibly bitter and dry taste the liquid had, and amazingly, his hangover melted away. Well, what is this thing? Ganlon tonic. It's mighty helpful for people who can't handle the old art of consuming firewater like we did last night. Wait, so it's of no use to you or Maple, right? So then, why'd you have this in the first place? Well, Mikey boy, that Ganlon tonic is as old as Maple. Wait, huh? I don't get it. Mike was puzzled by what Syrup mentioned. Well, Mikey boy, do you remember that time we had a visitor with an old friend of mine? You know, Mac? Oh, yeah, but I couldn't remember really. It was that crocodile, right? What do you mean by... Wait. Mike couldn't have understood what Syrup meant back then, but now that he aged, he definitely did. Yup, Mac was the man's man of a crocodile who blessed my bosom with Maple. Just when I thought I was only gonna have you, he came and surprised me. Syrup laughed, then sighed wistfully at the pain. Oh, I miss him. Well, let's eat. I know I brutally destroyed the eggs, so I thought you might like a nice thick cut of raw beef to go with it. Syrup laid down the plate containing more than well-done eggs, coupled with not-so-well-done steak at Mike's side of the table. Better eat up. Today's gonna be a long day. Syrup began to tear into her breakfast with enthusiasm. With a clearer head, Mike joined his mother as he began to devour the raw, dripping red steak that were beside the eggs that would never be touched. This taste is definitely that Taurus Mom hunted down a week ago. It's really good. The savoriness of meat was something Mike missed dearly ever since his departure for Tau Village. After a couple of minutes, breakfast was done and over with. Well, I was all good and such. Feels nice to have a belly full of meat, eh? Okay, let's get warmed up. And start training today. Syrup got up from her chair and got ready to go outside. Oh, this is what you meant by a long day, huh? Well, no complaints for me. I feel good enough to pound something. Oh, I bet you feel like you want to pound something. In more ways than one. Mike got up from his chair to follow his mother outside, but stopped for a bit to notice a picture he had never seen before. A stunky with a hat like his riding a Ponita. It was oddly adorable looking. Huh? Is this Mom? Mike boy, you coming or not? Syrup yelled just outside the house door, waiting for Mike to come with her. Yeah, okay, I'm coming. Mike couldn't afford to investigate the picture any longer, and abandoned it to go run off with his mother, after which they locked the door to the house and went off to their usual location for training. Let me scroll down. After their arrival, they wasted no time in beginning their routine training. Clawing the rocky walls was one exercise that aided in practicing various cutting techniques they possessed, such as Mike's Metal Claw and Dragon Claw, or Syrup's Night Slash. While they cut away, Mike felt that he had to tell his mother everything that happened at Tau Village, for fear that he might have not been entirely truthful or mistaken many details during their drunken state last night. Syrup mostly kept a straight face during Mike's explanations, but she clearly disliked what his son had been through, being caught by Merlot and wearing a maid dress. Whoever this Merlot was, Syrup felt that Mike was greatly exaggerating her size, and Mike could have done much better than being caught and forced to wear a shameful dress. Oh, jeez. I need to pop my knees. Then there were moments that Syrup couldn't keep a straight face any longer. The words, Maple had a few moments of trouble, coupled with, no, I wasn't really there with her, just put anger in Syrup's expression as she began to pound away at the rock with increased vigor. Yeah, Syrup is a really bad mother, and it shows. Huh? Wait, hold on. I raised the two of them to be brother and sis, but he ought to have been with her then. At least Maple's still doing alright, and it probably gave her some experience under her gut, but tarnation! Syrup decided that she was going to have at least Mike repay for his lack of brotherly obligations, at least, in her own way. Micah boy, let's try something else, like practicing your observational skills. Yeah, that would have been true. They are both despicable parents. Well, at least if that don't work out, they could try pairing up PK and Mike. Yeah. I still hate PK and Mike enough that I shipped them together, and I still don't know what that's called. And I wish there was a way to look it up easily on the internet, be like, hey, what's the name of a ship where you, the reader, do not like two characters, so you ship them together? Huh? Mike couldn't really pay attention to what Syrup said as he was busy cutting into the rock wall. Mike stopped to turn around, but he could not find any trace of his mother anywhere. Mom, where are you? Mike kept looking, but locating his mother was of no avail, and that was when a chill ran down his spine. Oh crap! When mom does this, is when she's about to. Too slow! Syrup pounced at Mike with all her weight and caught Mike off guard. The crash was eventful enough to create an explosion of dust surrounding them, and as it slowly settled, it was clear that Syrup was the victor in the scuffle, with Mike hanging from her jaws as the prize. Oh, ow! Okay, Mom, you got me! Can you let me go now? Mike was helpless as he was bitten at the side of his torso, and was still hanging from her fangs. This kinda hurts. Syrup could only grunt in response to Mike as she bit down even harder. Mike began to wriggle as much as he could to free himself from her jaws and the excruciating pain. But before he could free himself, Syrup let go of him, only to hold him up from his tail. Yeah, imagine this, but a heck of a lot worse. And that could have been Maple, you know? I raised you both to be real close to one another through thick and thin, but that didn't sound like you necessarily did so. Come on, we're done here. I need to cool off, else I'll end up killing you. Syrup turned around and walked back home while carrying Mike by the tail, much to his discomfort. Hey, Micah boy, how much longer is it going to take you there? The water's frigid cold, Syrup exclaimed to Mike, who was outside the house near the bathroom window. A few hours had passed since Syrup angrily came home with Mike in her claws, and the sun had long sank into the fiery red horizon, depriving the land of its hot lights and encouraging the cold nights the prairie was accustomed to. Just a second, Mom, I'm about to light it up! Mike was busily placing a few logs into cache underneath a specific spot of the house that was lined with metal. Okay, here goes! Mike breathed a scorching blaze at the logs he carefully placed so that each of them was burning brightly. How's that? Mike yelled at the window above him. How about you heat up the metal a bit? That should get it going a little quicker, Syrup said after dipping a claw into the bathtub full of water. Alright! Mike breathed his flames once more, but careful as to only heat up the metal lining and nothing else until it was red hot. Ah, yeah, that's perfect. The bathwater's nice and hot. Now get up on here and come take a bath with me. Syrup slowly dipped her entire furred body into the bathtub to begin soaking herself in the heated water. Mike had no problems bathing with his mother, as well as his sister too. Bathing together as a family was a routine custom as the dust would cover their fur and scales regularly. But for Mike, he had to bathe differently than the two of them, as he was taught to never submerge his tail flame in water, even before he could grasp the concept of death. As Mike settled with his mother in the bathroom, he began to carefully scrub himself down with a soaked rag so as to not splash any water on himself or his vital flame. Hey, Mikey boy, come here and help me scrub my back, and I'll clean you up. Here's a soap. Syrup moved herself to the edge of the bathtub and handed Mike the bar of soap to begin scrubbing her back. Ah, that feels good. Hey, listen, I'm sorry for hurting you earlier, but I really wanted to drive it home that you gotta protect Maple as much as you can, right? Especially while she's a small runt. I don't want to have her leaping off to buy more than she could chew and then something happens and she's gotta hope for a second chance, you know? Syrup turned around to look at Mike, face to face, as she finished talking. Huh? I don't know what you mean by that, Mom. Mike felt bad as he was being stared down by his own mother. Mike, what the fuck do you mean you don't know that? You're a rescuer! Syrup turned her head back around and pointed at another spot on her back for Mike to continue scrubbing. Well, imagine what happened to Chill's sister, then imagine that it happened to Maple instead. Get me? I didn't really think about that possibly happening. I'm sorry. Mike stopped scrubbing his mother's tough purple fur, pondering about the what-ifs. Syrup raised an arm in surprise from under the mic stopped. What the fuck does that mean? Syrup raised an arm in surprise from under the mic stopped. Creeper, you didn't finish writing. Come back here and finish. Hey, I didn't say to stop. There's still a lot more to scrub. Oh, sorry again. Mike began to scrubbing again. You're always sorry. Well, it's okay this time. But you know what I meant about Maple biting more than she can chew, right? Syrup rested her arm back underwater to relax. No? Mike was a little confused, as he always assumed Maple to be as tough as he was. Well, remember that I told you it was Mac who gifted us Maple? Well, before I had you and all, I visited a doctor and I was told it was likely impossible that I could even bear a child. I didn't want to believe in his words, but it began to appear more and more likely that he was right. That was until I found you. And then 6 or 7 years later... 6, 7! God damn it, I fucking hate this meme. And then 6 or 7 years later, we were blessed with Maple. Even then, the doctor told me that while it was a miracle, Maple is probably weaker than I was as a little runt. I thought he was a load of bouffalant at first, but then I started to notice her cheeks aren't so pronounced as I had when I was a kid. So that's what I'm talking about. Her heart's strong, but I'm afraid that when the need arises, her body might not follow her heart all the way. That's why I want you or maybe someone strong enough to help. That's why I want you or maybe someone strong to help her to avoid that. And just maybe she can pull through a second wind and become as tough as me when she evolves. Huh. Okay. I'll look after Maple, but there's not much to worry. I mean, Fresnel sure seems like a strong guy to protect her as well. Mike felt like that was a half-lie, since he really didn't know Fresnel for that long, but he seemed to protect her, especially during Sorbet's crazy attack. Yeah, attaboy! That's what I want to hear. Ah, you got magic claws, Mikey boy. You made me feel good this whole time. Syrup untensed herself even further and relaxed at the tub. Sorry. Just keep on scrubbing me down. Maybe fit in a massage or two. As Mike did just as his mother lazily commanded, which resulted in a few minutes of silent thinking as he did the hygienic duty for her. Wait, that's not how that sentence is supposed to be read. Let me try that again. And Mike did just as his mother lazily commanded, which resulted in a few minutes of silent thinking as he did the hygienic duty for her. Although, after thinking it over, he had to ask his mother, sure. Hey, Mom, what was that picture out in the front room? Was that you? Ah, yeah, that thing. Yep, that was me, alright. You think? Yeah, I think that's enough scrubbing from now, Macaboy. Any more of that and I would have dozed off. Come pull up a stool here and I'll scrub you down until your scales shine. Syrup grabbed a bucket full of the bath water and doused her whole body to free her fur from the soapy remains, while Mike pulled up a stool that would elevate him to a comfortable scrubbing height. You know the drill. You do your front side while I do your back side, alright? Okay. Mike began to clean the scales on his belly while his mother did his back with less vigor than what he gave. So, you were saying? Also, I do want to mention something about this pig real quick. I don't know what it is, but I just kind of like this this sort of hairstyle thing on a skuntank. It just, I don't know how to best explain it. I guess it's like it's straight, but it's also on someone with like a southern accent. There's just something about that I think looks pretty. I think I have like an old art here that inspired me to make something. Let me find it. Was it in Doodles? No, it wasn't in Doodles. Doodles is full of shit. And also good shit, but still. Oh my god, this was like from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, fuck. Yeah, 2 years ago drawing, I did not have a mouse, so it was entirely me just drawing on paper, taking a picture of it with my phone, and then tracing over it with like the line tool or with the mouse. And yeah. Also, I think this character, I took a lot of notes from this character, and that ended up being the Aromatisse character that I made for Eternal Bliss. And it was even so because I remember this was named Lady Lavender instead of Periwinkle. And I sort of renamed it because, oh shit, I already have a character named Lavender. But yeah, I don't think this character will ever get brought up again. Yeah. Oh, nearly forgot to talk about that. So get this, I was a little scamp back then, and that Ponita I was riding on was a pal I had back then. We were inseparable, until one day we wanted to buck around in the sandy desert. Well, Sybil and I... Sybil? Mike just had to interrupt his mother. Yeah, Sybil. So what if I forgot to mention her... So what if I forgot to mention her name a little earlier than that, eh? Sierra began to rub Mike's bald head with an uncomfortable fervor as punishment. Don't interrupt me again, especially when I was getting at a good part. Anyway, like I was saying, Sybil and I were bucking around in the sand dunes of the desert, having a good time. Then I was an idiot and dared her to jump from the top of a sandhill. We didn't look before we leapt, and the other side of the hill had a great deep sand pit. Needless to say, we fell hard. I only got scrapes and bruises while Sybil broke 2 of her legs. I tell you, it was a terribly stupid thing we did there. I had to carry her home with me. When our parents saw the mess, Sybil's pa was outright furious because their legs can't really heal like we do. Syrup's claws stopped moving to scrape at Mike's scalp. I ended up crippling her, and her parents never let me see Sybil. After about a week of not being allowed to see her, my mom and pa came to my room only to tell me that they moved out. I was so heartbroken to know one of my best friends just ups and leaves after I left her crippled. Well, in an attempt to cheer me up, my folks said they were hoping that when Sybil evolves, she'd get her legs fixed, you know, using evolution and such. Well, that inspired me to want to evolve too. I wanted the power to get away from there and find Sybil again. Of course, I did just that, and I never did find Sybil. That's life, you know? Sierra breathed a heavy sigh. So, Mikey boy, when it all comes down to this, when are you gonna evolve? Mike was dealt 2 heavy blows, both from his mother's story and from hearing his mother expecting more out of him. He really wished that he didn't have to hear the latter. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know I'm old enough to become whatever, but it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't come yet. Sorry, Mom, for being a letdown as usual. Aw, consarn it. You know you haven't really let me down. You're still my son, and that's all I want from you. Of course, I'd love to see you become a big and handsome dragon. Hey, speaking of dragons, whatever happened to Sir Bet Dragon? Last you said before I got angry with you that he was freezing up everything in the Tau Village. Sir was more than eager to hear news from when it comes to dragons. Oh, that. Well, Sorbet really did a number on Tau Village since he was out of his mind and we had to stop him. Last I heard from Maple, he's gone now. Mike sighed as he recalled all the hardships from that night, which seemed to last almost a forever. Oh, well, here I was getting all hot and bothered thinking about Sir Bet, and now I'm just hearing this? Yeah, well, you get yourself all dried up and ready for bed. Mama here needs a bit of alone time for now. Syrup sighed wistfully as she tapped Mike to go away, and she sank herself into the bathtub to relax by herself. Oh well, I didn't get to see much of Sir Bet, but maybe that gunpowder fella ought to get me somewhere. Oh my god. Mike used to not understand what she meant by alone time, but lately he got to piece it together and decided to follow his mother's orders and hurried to dry himself up to leave the bedroom. Mike quite didn't want to finish the night just yet. Even after having a belly full of even more Taurus beef from before bath time, he was still lacking something before he could go to bed. I wonder, is there any milk in the icebox? A good question indeed. Milk was especially hard to get in such an arid climate where it would easily be perishable. He was told once that there used to be a cattle ranch where bovine Pokemon were treated in a different way, but the bovines themselves revolted against the owner and now roam free across the plains. Even if they were hunted occasionally, they were still free in their own way. As Mike went out to the cool cellar where the icebox resided, he rummaged. Beef, more beef, more beef. Oh, good, Sunny D. I'm kidding. I still think of that advertisement sometimes. There's a bottle here, and it's fresh. Perfect. I haven't had some in forever. Mike grabbed a bottle of milk to bring upstairs in order to prepare it, in which preparation was simply to pour the contents into a metal pan and place it over his tail fire for a while in the dead of night. You're a little sneak, aren't you? Syrup's cough of a laugh startled Mike enough to cause his tail flame to explode for a brief second. You startle easy, don't you? Well, here, you're not cooking that milk right. Give me that pan. I at least know how to do. At least I know how to do right. I at least know how to do right. I think that's missing a that. Even after a cleansing bath, Syrup's particular aroma never dissipated. It was always a part of her. Mike had to hand the pan over to his partially wet mother and watched as she used a wooden spoon to stir the milk. You see, if you don't stir it while heating it up, it's gonna burn at the bottom. But heck, I want some more milk too. Syrup grabbed the half-empty bottle of milk and added the rest of its contents into the pan. If you're gonna have something, you're always enough to share with your lady. I thought I taught you this. Huh? I thought you only brought milk for me when I was envious of Maple. Mike definitely wanted to hear her explanation for this. His whole day was full of explanations. Well, of course I did. I didn't want you to feel left out while I was raising Maple, so I went out and bought some milk to give you. But truth is, I raised on milk too as a runt. When I told you I had a mom and pa, I was only giving you the partial story. The truth is, before I hatched out of my own egg, my rail mama hit the road and left with my pa and his milk tank servant. And coincidentally, she had a calf of her own, but was too weak after hatching and died. So she ended up becoming my surrogative mama. And don't get me wrong, it was a sweet life being coddled like that. Lots of warm milk to drink from every night while she tucked me in. Wait, lots of warm milk to tuck me from every night while she tucked me in? It was the best, pretty much. Syrup was so engrossed in her childhood that she slowed down and spooned in the pan full of milk. Isn't that weird though, being raised by a milk tank? Didn't your dad find this strange as well? Mike had to actually put an effort in keeping his tail flame underneath the pan while she slowed down. Of course, and it ain't no weirder than me raising you. But nah, Pa didn't even mind that I was being raised by a cow. Come to think of it, he really never did much of anything with me except drink a lot. Sierra pulled the pan away from Mike's tail fire as she rose from her chair to grab 2 mugs from a cupboard. Alright, this milk's all done, so let's drink up. As Sarah poured the piping hot milk into the twin mugs, Mike had felt like asking one important question. Hey, so if you liked your mom a lot, then why'd you leave her? Huh? Well, when Sybil left, I was counting on my ma to cheer me up and such, and she just flat out punished me. I could never count on my drunken pa to do anything, and now my ma as well? Well, that was what broke the Numel's back. I felt like I had to take matters into my own claws, though. Strength. So that's what I did. I matured into a powerful skunk tank and left on my own. Anyways, I think that's enough delving for tonight. Let's drink this before it cools down. Bottoms up! Syrup lifted the mug into her maw and began gulping down the creamy beverage. Yeah, that is sad. What is it with parents in this being either, like, absent or awful? Because I think it's happened a lot now. You got Gunpowder with his thing. Shroomsworth with the sickness that his mother had. PK had shitty parents. Mike has a shitty parent. Chill also had, if his backstory, if his flashback, if his whatever happened to him is to be taken, then he also had a terrible parent. Welcome to PMD-E. We have shitty parents. I guess I also kind of made that a thing in my thing too, to some extent. I have a character who had like a parent that was never there for her. Rhodes was basically kidnapped from his parents and was raised by Slasher. Shroomsworth had a loving father. I gave him that. I don't think I delved into Lavender's backstory yet. Yeah, terrible parents all around. And if PK ever had a kid with Shroomsworth in the future, then she would probably also be a terrible mother. I would have believed Shroomsworth would have been a good father, her divorce PK and take the kid with him. Shroomsworth always did strike me as the kind of guy that would be good with kids. Shroomsworth. Yep. Anyway, let me take a drink break since I haven't had a drink in a while. Excuse me. I forgot where I even stopped, so I'm just gonna start at the next line. Mike saw to it to join his mother and drank all the milk in his own mug without a second's delay. I'll never tire of a nice cup of milk. All right, thanks for letting me dry my fur on your fire. I'm going to bed. Night, Mikey boy. Syrup lightly tossed the mug into the sink and left for her own bed. Mike had to stand on his own chair to reach the sink to drop his own mug along with his mother's. He'd have washed it now, but he was absolutely exhausted, and the warm milk in his stomach was soothing him to drop asleep right there. So he would do so in the morning. As Mike was about to doze off into the slumber in his stony bed, he couldn't help but recall the tales his mother told him today. Strength, huh? Maybe that's what it is I'm missing. Maybe I should really look into growing up for real. I gotta protect Maple. No, not just her. I want to protect everybody and help Maple grow up to be strong with me. Maybe then people will respect me. Maybe even she would notice me more. What if I'll grow up to be taller than Shroomsworth? You probably would. Anyway, I want to get another song because I just remembered it existed. What was... No, there was a different song. What was it though? Sorry, I'm looking for a specific song because I want to put it in the playlist. That's what it was. I'm putting this into playlist roulette, but I'm also going to be... You'll see what I mean when I get there. But consider this a break from Mike's writing for a while. Alright. I've almost got it. Come on, just put it in. Bitrate. Yep. I know what I'm doing. There we go. That's downloaded. A week had passed. A long week where Mike began committing himself to maturing into a stronger form. He would get up on his own early every morning to go and train by himself with renewed vigor. Syrup felt proud that she had motivated Mike to improve himself, and she could only assist by preparing breakfast and dinner, in her own way as usual, and by joining him in his training regimen. However, by the end of the week, Mike was frustrated in that he had shown no physical change, and feeling that he was long overdue for such an event. It was disheartening. That was when Syrup decided that the next day it would be committed to a special project, which she would announce in the next morning. Mikey boy, we better get going to the store in Gambittville today. We're about finished with the beef stock we have, so let's get going right now. Syrup pushed Mike out of his chair and out the door. I'll be right outside in a sec, just grabbing some cash. Mike didn't feel like wasting a day on groceries, but then again, he didn't want the possibility of having to hunt with his mother for food, so he reluctantly agreed with his mother to go to Gambitville. As they arrived into the very same and only store in Gambitville, they were greeted with an empty counter, coupled with angry shouting coming from the back room. And you want a what? You can take a day off when I'm dead! Syrup didn't appreciate having to wait for business, so she began to pound the bell on the counter. And now it sounds like we have customers, so get your slithery behind out there and tend to them! They wanted to do that, and then Creeper got kicked from the group. You'll see that once we get to the Mission 8 stuff. To the Mission 8 epilogues. From the back room slithered out a large black snake wearing a white bow over frills, and proceeded to respond to Syrup's beckoning. Why, yes. How can I help you this fine day? Well, Mike could only nervously swallow as he gazed at the serpent. She was definitely a viper, identified through experience back at Tau Village. Mike didn't care for the ones back at Tau Village, but there was something alluring about this one. Oh my god. Right. Yeah, how about you telling me who you are, because I ain't seen your face before. Oh, I'm sure you don't want to hear, but my name's Opal, and I recently moved here. Opal bowed her head at Syrup, and upon doing so, finally noticed Mike, whose height was below the counters. Oh my, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, mister. This here's my son, Mike, and my name's Syrup. Well, now that we got introductions out of the way, how's about you tell me your plot? Something wrong? Oh, no. I just couldn't dare you to drag you two into my mess. Come on, try me. Syrup patted her own chest with dignity. Well, since you asked, ever since I moved here last week, I wanted to get into jewel cutting, but my boss doesn't believe I could even do such a thing to let me leave the store. It's hard enough as it is when you move into a new place with next to no money and lodging. Donahue may be kind enough to discount my room, but I really... Now, hold on there. I hear ya, times are tough on ya, but I think we'd like to help you out. Ain't that right, Mikey boy? Syrup had to nudge Mike to bring him back to reality. Yeah, what kind of help, though? Well, I can't just leave this and all, but I know there's a cave across the Sandsong Desert where I can dig up gems, but going all by myself and such, there's the possibility of Flygon attacks, and not to mention, I don't necessarily have the arms to bring back a big enough haul. Opal sighed wistfully while Syrup saw an adventure in it all. That sounds excellent! Let's leave now while the getting's good. What? Right now? I've never been through the desert. I've never... Wait, that's Mike. Wait, what? Right now? I've never been to the desert, Mom. Plus, don't you two need things like water and such? I don't even think the store owner would let Opal leave. He's right. He's right. I'm grateful for your hospitality. Oh yeah, Opal is one of Creeper Frog's characters, by the way. And if I remember from the IRC logs, he was written because, and I partially quote, because PK had Shroom's words, so I wanted to give Mike something along the lines of that. So yeah, that's the entire reason for Opal's existence. Syrup slammed down a bag full of money on the counter. Ain't grateful unless you actually take us up on your offer, so let's get going. Well, okay, but what about supplies like Michael said? And my boss? All the supplies are right here. We'll just be renting them. He ain't gonna complain if I left all this money for him. Plus, I'll leave a note right here. If he crosses me, he'll be sorry, that's for sure. Syrup began writing on a notepad that was situated next to the cash register, and then ripped it off and handed it to Mike. Here, start grabbing these things. We'll be needing them. Syrup began to write on another sheet of paper that would be the actual notes. Mike went to work to take things from the shelf, as there was no way he could convince his mother to drop this. Once Syrup had that certain fire in her eyes, there's no stopping her. Let's see. Palm tree salve, jerky, bandages, tinder, blankets, canteens. Oh, and 3 packing bags. I guess that's all of them. I hope Opal doesn't mind Mom for a bit. Yep, that was it. Okay, I'm all ready. Opal placed a sign on the counter that stated out to lunch, but with the last word crossed out and replaced with please ring bell very loudly. Good, so am I. Micah boy, you better be ready. Sarah placed a note filled with dire consequences on the cash register, while filling it with all the money she had, as it was no use where they were going. Yeah, I got everything. Let's, go. Mike handed Syrup the bag with the essentials, and the three left the store, out for the Sandsong Desert. Oh, yep, here it is. The trek through Sandsong Desert was largely uneventful for Mike's first time in such an environment. He imagined being able to see Pokemon similar to Ruben in the desert attack. He imagined being able to see Pokemon similar to Ruben in the desert attack, the three of them, but not a soul appeared before them. He definitely took notice at Syrup and Opal's state as they traversed through the stands. Syrup was definitely handling it without any complaints, so she must have had previous experience in the desert. As for Opal, she was the same as Syrup, calm, collective, and cooperative. Was Opal also accustomed to the desert's blazing heat? Mike had absolutely no problem with this heat. In fact, he could do fine in more extreme temperatures than this, but he was aware that not everyone was like him, and required more water than he would in such climates. The trio finally arrived at their location, which was a cave made out of a rock formation jutting out from the middle of the sandy desert. The color of the rock was identical to the sand surrounding it, as it loomed over the three of them. Such a peculiar location. Even if you were a bird flying over the desert, the chances of spotting this rock formation among the featureless desert was unlikely. Alright, this looks like the cave's perfect for you two. You better get work and fill these bags. I'm gonna stay out here. Syrup laid the other essentials at the mouth of the cave. Don't you want to assist me and Michael in digging up gems? I'm sure it'd go much faster. Oh, nah, don't want to risk a cave-in. I had cheese this morning, and if I pass gas around Micah boy, well, it spelled trouble. Besides, I want to see if I can do a little something for tonight, so let's meet up at the entrance around sunset. Now get! Syrup waved her hand at Mike and Opal to venture into the cave, to which Opal did follow with a face of disgust. Before Mike could even follow Opal into the cave, he looked back at his mother with an expression akin to, "Really, Mom?" Syrup responded by stomping the ground and yelling out a ferocious "Get!" which made Mike turn tail and go into the cave to meet with Opal. Yeah, that would be nice if she actually got a character. And an actual story. As the two of them continued further inside the rocky cavern, Mike decided to break the silence. Sorry about my mom. Sometimes she's gross, but she's really nice. Oh, that is okay. She seems unique, and I'm sure she's a great mother to you, too. Oh, this looks like a good spot to excavate. Opal stopped in awe as she gazed at the glittering stones that were set into the rocky walls. Uncut, and yet they're so beautiful already. Aren't they amazing, Michael? Wow, this is a pretty sight. Hey, how'd you know about this place? Oh, well, I used to come here when I was little. My mother told me this used to be where a tribe of Sandslash lived, but they died out after being preyed upon by Flygon and such. What a shame. Opal turned to face one of the glimmering walls. Okay, stand back. I'm gonna start working now. Opal's tail blade began to glow purple, and as she made slashes into the wall with such deft movements, Mike couldn't even see where she even cut. Okay, this is gonna be a bit loud. Opal pounded the wall with her lower body with such a force that a section of the wall crumbled loudly. As the dust settled, Mike opened his eyes to see a perfect section of the wall reduced to rubble. Whoa, that was pretty cool. How'd you do that? How'd you do it? Surprised? It's a couple of tricks I learned. Poison Tail coats this blade of mine with an acid, so I can cut through this stone like a hot knife through butter. And then I just use bulldoze to pulverize the separated section into what you see now. Help me out by picking up some chunks that have gems in them, please. Mike and Opal were hard at work in destroying rock to collect its sparkling bounty. As the hours had passed, the bags began to fill up with riches. As the both of them were about to talk to pass the time, an ominous chill creeped up their spines. Whew, is it me or is there, like, some weight on our shoulders? Opal asked Mike with a straight face. You don't even have shoulders, but now that you mention it, something feels really awful. It reminds me of someone or something. Who's there? Mike swung his tail around with a blaze to quickly illuminate the cavern as much as possible. And it worked. There seemed to be a shadow in the middle of the floor that did not dissipate to Mike's radiant action. Alright. Screw this song. I'm putting on my own mix. You caught me! Let me go! There's no need for the rough stuff! Hold on. There's no need for the rough stuff! The inordinate shadow rose from the floor and materialized itself in midair. It was a haunter of sorts. A certain haunter, though, as it opened up its mouth and pulled a strange ornamental hat to place on its head. Just let me have what I came for and I'll leave. I promise! Opal's eyes widened as she heard the words coming from the haunter. That can't be... Father? Ah, I was right. You are my daughter, after all. Pearl, wasn't it? Who are you and what do you want? Mike yelled at the ghost that was beginning to unease Opal. Hey, no need to shout. My name's Gold, and I was just looking to reunionate with my daughter. That's... Get out! You're dead! What do you want with me? Leave me alone! Now then, that ain't no way to treat your father. True, I may be dead and without a body, but I see a new body in ya. So come over here and let Daddy have it. Gold creeped closer, but was cut off by Mike. Leave! Mike put on an intimidating face and stared down Gold, startling him for only a few seconds. Boy, I died once. I can't die again. So what good can you do? He can't, but I certainly can. A darkish light streaked across Gold's body, effectively cutting him in two and splattering him left and right. The assailant turned out to be Syrup herself. You two alright? The two shadows gathered into one puddle in the middle of the floor, and a face formed in order to look at its attacker. It's you! That's right, and I'm sure I could end you once more if I tried hard enough. Syrup cracked a crude knuckle out of her claws as he stared down at the mess of Gold. No, leave me alone! Gold jumped up from the floor to swallow his own hat and then slink away into the desert. Hang on, I want to play another song. As Syrup looked up at Gold creep away with such speed, she turned around to offer her son a hand. Sorry about that. Looks like a bad fart came to haunt us. Need a hand with anything? The sun began to set as they pulled up the heavy bags full of the minerals into the mouth of the cave. Well, looks like the sun's setting. I guess we better set in camp here, near the cave entrance. Monkey boy, there should be some nice tinder for the night in that bag over there. Set up the campfire for us, would ya? Syrup walked outside the cavern to grab something she seemed to have obtained while Mike and Opal were busy. Mike set the campfire and laid out 3 blankets as well among the stony floor. Opal slithered up to the newly made campfire and coiled up into a pile of herself in order to fend off the dip in temperature. As she warmed up and got comfortable, she turned to Mike. Michael, thanks for protecting me and all back then, but I'm worried. Oh, that was nothing. I protect all the time back at Tao Village. But you don't have to worry about that, Ghost. I think I could take him down, too. I just couldn't even get a chance to try. No, it's not that. I'm more worried about your mother's flatulence. Didn't she say it would be dangerous around you? I don't think it'd be safe for her to sleep around at night. Oh, that! Actually, that was just a plain fib. I always pass gas around Mike Boy when we're back at home. Heck, it can be real funny sometimes. Wanna see? Syrup arrived at the right moment to grace the two with her presence as she sat down near the campfire. Oh, that's all quite alright, ma'am. Opal made sure for the moment to not let her tongue escape from her mouth. Oh, alright, another time then. Heck, I don't even need Mike Boy to do my class act. Mike's face turned to a brighter than red tone in which the reader has been familiarized with. God damn it, stop that! With the color of embarrassment. He couldn't believe his mother chose to be herself more than ever around Opal. Alright. I bet you're all pretty starved from all that hard work, so I caught us some dinner. Syrup leaned back to pull a rope that was right behind her. The end of the rope was tied to a rag that carried a dozen of weird bug-like Pokemon. While I was out and about, these guys all swarmed me, thinking they could make a meal out of me. So let's make a meal out of them. Oh my, those poor Vibrava. Opal was stunned at the sight of them. Oh, is that what they're called? Well, they sure don't look poor to me. In fact, they look mighty plump. I'd take these over jerky any day. Here, Micah boy, dig in. You earned it. Syrup tossed one of them towards Mike, and it limply landed right next to his feet. Thanks, Mom. This was new to him. Even if he did eat other Pokemon like Tauros before, he didn't really eat them in a state such as this. He would like to pass up the opportunity, but his stomach growled in favor of just eating it. Hey, Opal, hands up! Syrup tossed another one towards her. I don't know if I should. I've sworn to be peaceful. Aw, shuckles, just eat it. It's dead already, so what good'll come from grappin'? Well, if you say so. Opal started positioning the Vibrava to be inserted into her jaws head first. Was all Mike could utter from that. Sheesh, you're quick to change, huh? Mike lifted up the cord to begin eating from it, but paused midway. Hey, Mom, did you know that ghost? I'm willing to believe that Mike made Opal a Scyther simply because of Vor-related things. I'm not going to explain any more further about that. So, yeah. Opal was really made to fulfill fantasies, it seems. Slurp. Syrup was progressively ripping flesh from her meal until she paused in order to swallow whatever she had in her mouth that wasn't permitting her to speak. Well, that fart, I suppose I did get to know him personally. His name was Gold, and when I first settled into Gambiville, he was nothing but a terrible bandit. That's why I thought of killing him and turning his body in for his bounty. Opal had the entire Vibrava halfway down her throat when she heard those words. She hurried to have it go down her gullet faster than usual. Oh, you were the one who killed my father? Yup, I killed him and had a stew out of him too. That's how I got to know him personally. Mike swallowed a piece of half-chewed meat reflexively to his mother's words and choked on an unfortunately overlooked piece of cartilage. Why did Mom have to put it like that? Now Opal's gonna think we're monsters or something. Mike turned to look at Opal, and his heart sank as he noticed tears rolling down her scaly face. I see. Opal raised her head to look up to Syrup. He must have tasted so good. Mike's heart skipped a beat from her words as he couldn't believe what she said. You see what I mean? This character was only made to fulfill Creeper's fantasies. You're a funny one. And yeah, it was damn tasty too. I'd love to have another Viper stew out of you. But I think Mike would actually take offense at that, seeing as he's smitten with ya. Mike's heart exploded, or at least it felt similar to exploding. What the kid? Why, thanks for the compliment. I must say, there's more to Mike than simply being cute. Opal blushes as she confirms Mike's feelings in another way. Good. I'm glad. I hope the two of you get to grandchildren making soon. Having lots of little wrigglers sounds cute to me. Mom! Maybe. I don't know about that yet, but I wouldn't mind giving him a few hugs right now. If it weren't for him, my father could have done something terrible to me. I'm entirely grateful to Mike for protecting me, and you too, ma'am, for slaying my terrible father. If only he didn't arise from the grave to curse me. Oh, not Maple, it's Opal. Why do they have similar sounding names anyway? Goddamn it, Quaper, do you know how to name properly? Oh, it's Syrup. Right. We're just confusing all sorts of characters. Ah, yeah, that whole legend about the dead coming back to us as ghosts. I know it happens sometimes anywhere, but it seems to happen more often in Gambiville. Well then, Mike boy, did you ask where she's from? Oh, right, I never really did do that, or even learn more about her. I'm so dumb. Oh, well, I'm actually from a tribe of Survivor that live near the Humming Oasis. We're peaceful, and we even lack the bloodlust against Zangoose, so we don't actually wish to harm them. However, most Zangoose don't understand this and fight us anyways. In order to distance away from them, we set out towards the Sansong Desert more than a century ago. My father and myself are the only ones who left the tribe. He was sort of the Black Mareep that actually preferred violence. I swear, I didn't want to follow him outside the tribe just to cause harm, but I felt trapped in there. I wanted to be free. So I left for Gambitville, but even after death, my father caused trouble. Nobody wanted to hire a survivor, nor believe that I'm a pacifist. It took so much pleading to actually get a job at a Gave Sundries, and to even get a room at the saloon with such little pay. But thanks to you two, I should have more than enough gems here to sell for an actual stable income. Thanks so much. Opal leaned over and licked Mike's cheek with her long serpent tongue. Also, Black Marie. But I'm sure nowadays it will be Black Wooloo because Wooloo is actually has black fur, not black fur, black wool as it's shiny. Oh, wow, it's nothing really, Opal. Although that did tickle. Wait, I can't feel anything there. Wait, I can't feel anything there now? Oh, look at you, Micah boy. I think that's the biggest flame I ever did see you sport. The three of them continue to eat their meat. I mean, the three of them continue to eat their dinner and then slumbered until the next day. I don't know where I got meat from. Oh, yep. It was early. So early that the sun was quite shy to show itself over the horizon. And that was good. They were tired of walking on baking hot sand, so they left as early as possible so as to minimize the sun tiring them out while they carried several heavy bags of gems. Along the way, Opal talked more openly with Mike to pass the time. She explained about the cave's whereabouts and how she knew their location. She even spoke about her tribe, how they lived and thrived amid the scorching desert. And lastly, she explained about how some gems could be a material for utility use, such as firestones, only one of many types, and the peculiar charge stones, which could glow by themselves and be tapped into for vast amounts of electricity. No doubt they were yielded in their haul. Yeah, that's the word. God. The trio finally arrived at Gambotville and made a stop to a Gave Sundries to drop off the gems with Opal as she entered the store. After thanking them so much, she left a single bag of the haul to Syrup and Mike as payment for their escort. Mike promised to visit Opal as much as he could, and then Syrup dragged them away from her to go to Donahue's Salute for a victory brunch. Caw, I knew saving those last two Vibrava for you to fry up was the best idea. What'd you call these again, Donnie? Tempura? It's tempura. Tempura. I think that's how it's pronounced. Whatever, it's still tasty as all heck. You know, Donnie, if you weren't so prickly, I'd have married you just so you can cook everything for me. What do you say, Micah boy? Want to have a cactus forefather? Mike didn't say a word. He didn't appreciate Syrup's loud humor with so many people around the saloon hollering, and by looking at Donahue's face, he didn't appreciate it either. Ah, whatever. Eat your tempura already and see if you can sneak in Opal's room. I bet she'd love to see you in her bed all ready for you I bet she'd love to see you in her bed all ready for her when she returns from a hard day's work. Mom! You two know of Opal? Then you would happen to know what went on in her room. Then would you happen to know what went on in her room last night? Huh? What you talking about, Donnie? We were out last night and... Suddenly the clamor around the saloon came to a halt as Opal bustled through the entrance with tears in her eyes. It's terrible, just terrible. Opal, are you okay? What's happened? Mike jumped up from his seat and instinctively went to embrace Opal for comfort. Oh, it's just terrible. The store owner, he's dead, and it's all Gold's fault. He left this note on top of the body. Here, look. Opal handed the paper to Mike, and he read it. It was barely legible to the point where Mike couldn't even read most of it, but the last words were clear. I'm coming for you, Pearl. This looks bad, Syrup said over Mike's shoulder as she peeked at the note in his claws. I have never heard of shoulder being shortened to shoulder before. That does not sound right. So that probably explains the intrusion into your room last night, Donahue said as he began to cower underneath his counter. My what? Opal quickly jolted to her room. In the few minutes it took her to investigate, Mike and Syrup could hear the Gambotville residents' murmur of distrust towards Opal. Oh, great. Now the town's not gonna like her around anything anymore. It's like Gold poisoned her status in one fell swoop. Okay, well, they're talking about it, right? They surely could have heard the... Hey, Gold did this thing! Fuck that, Opal did it. Mike woke up to Opal's room to see how she was doing, and was astonished by what he saw. Almost everything was scattered or torn in the room. Opal was searching fervently until she found what she was looking for. Michael, I'm so glad. At least he didn't take this. Look. Michael walked up to see what Opal had. Dangling from the end of her tail was a chain with a deep purple heart. It looked like a massively crafted gem of sorts. Wow, this is incredible. Did you make this? Yes, it was the very first jewel I crafted. I made it for Mother, but Gold wanted to take it from me to sell for money before he left. It means a lot to me, Michael. Syrup was already by the entrance of the room, shouting at its two guests. Hey, you two! I think we ought to get! Is there anything important you need with you, Opal? Opal tucked the piece of jewelry into her only garment and then shook her head. Alright, let's go then. Syrup walked out, and then Opal began to follow her. Mike was surprised to see her follow Syrup so reluctantly and trail behind the two. As the three reached the middle of the saloon, Syrup stopped and turned around towards Donahue. Oh yeah, hey Donnie boy, sorry to let you clean up everything, but as usual, could you do this for me again? Of course. Thank you, hun. Oh, and Opal never came back last night. Y'all hear me? Syrup stomped the wooden floor as hard as possible and captured everyone's attention. Yup, me and Mike took Opal out so I can give Mike the taste of survivor stew, and it was pretty delish. No need for any more trouble, right? Everyone was silent. Good. I'm glad y'all understand me. Now we'll be off. I think when writing the story, Queeper wanted an excuse for Opal to come back to Tao. So that's why they wrote this. That seems like the obvious guess. As the three left the saloon, Syrup went towards Agave Sundries. Best to pick up our haul before we leave for our home. And maybe some extra cash and food. They'll blame Gold for it all anyhow. Mike breathed a heavy sigh as Syrup helped herself to make the best of the situation. The sun had already settled by the time the three arrived at the Syrup household. As they ate dinner and began to be comfortable, Syrup offered Opal residence in her house. That was when Opal wanted to speak. Listen, the both of you, I cannot thank you enough for all that you've done for me. Wait, hold on. Listen, the both of you, I cannot thank you enough for all that you've done for me. Syrup, I love eggs. I really do, so dinner was delightful. And you, Michael, I could enjoy your company a lot, but I don't know if I could live here. Aw, Shuckles, just do it. It's no skin off of my back. Well, if you insist, thanks. Just like a record. Anyway, this calls for a little celebration. I'll be back. Syrup lifted herself from the chair and went down to the cellar. Opal, are you sure you want to do this? I love your company just as well. Do you? Opal blushed. Yeah, I do, honestly. Mike blushed just as well. Wait, I'm not done yet. I was going to say, you really want to live here? I don't know if you'll get used to it. Plus, everyone in Gambitville thinks you're dead. We should at least go to your mom and let her know you're okay before she hears otherwise. Well, that's alright. My mother passed away. She was heartbroken when Gold left the two of us so violently, so I couldn't ever forgive him for doing that to us. It's fine, Michael. Opal started to edge closer to Michael's face. Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry, there's a chance the dog might have to go out. Alright, he's being left out for a bit. It's ready! And just in time, too! Syrup slammed a glass flask filled with a vividly purple liquid in the middle of the table. I hope I didn't interrupt anything. Mike scrambled to think of something else, and his eyes settled on the flask. Hey, this looks familiar. Isn't this what you were brewing? Yep, let's drink. Let's all drink! Syrup grabbed 2 glasses and a small plate and poured the purple liquid into each of them, the latter like a milk saucer. Well, bottoms up! The three drank it, and it was surprisingly very sweet and syrupy, which did well to completely mask the burn of the massive amount of alcohol in it. From just 1 glass, the 2 of them were already inebriated. Wow, already you 2 are in high spirits. I'm gonna enjoy myself for this. Gonna go to my room now, so see you tomorrow morning. Hold on again, dog's coming back.
Alright. Dog's in bed now. Did I unmute myself? I forget. Yes, I did unmute myself. Should I open up Steam? Wow, that tasted great. Hey, are you okay? Mike looked at Opal, who was looking a little loopy. I'm just fine. Just fine. Oops. There goes my lisp. Sorry, Michael. Wow, that is way too much for me. You're funny. Am I? That's mean. But listen, Michael, look at this. Opal handed the jewel to Mike as best as she could, but instead it just flopped right on into his dinner plate. Open it. Huh? Open it. Mike fumbled with it in his hands and noticed metal joints at the side of it and opened it. It was a locket made entirely out of a gem, and it was empty. Huh? Shouldn't something go here? Yeah, something's gotta go in there. Mom said that I should put the two closest people in it. And I want one of them to be you, Michael. I want to squeeze you into my heart. Opal slithered close to Mike, really close. Come on, Mikey boy. There's gonna be no escape when I'm done with you. Opal wrapped herself around Mike and dragged him to his room. Or Maple's. She couldn't really tell where it was. Mike would have objected to this terribly tight hug, but instead he felt in his choked up heart that he should let the course of events flow as naturally as possible. It did, and afterwards they fell into a sweet slumber. Oh, so they had sex. I think that's what happened. The dream that haunted Mike last week happened once more, but near the end, as he was about to burn up again, some black substance coiled around him, maintaining his self. That was when Mike woke up and found himself in Opal's embrace. She was true to her word. Mike could never escape from her grasp the whole night, and he felt oddly comfortable despite being unable to feel one of his arms. He was surprised, though, that there wasn't any repercussions of last night's inebriation. Mike proceeded to wake Opal and have her let go of him so they could go out into the dining room and have breakfast. Mike expected Syrup to be ahead of him, but for the first time, she wasn't. He turned to see Syrup lazily dragging herself to the kitchen right behind him. Morning! You two sounded so sweet last night. I'm envious. And by the looks of it, adding Ganon tonic to the brew helped out. As they all had breakfast, Mike came to explain to Syrup that Opal could craft jewelry with great skill, evidenced by the gem locket she made. It must have taken her all her heart to make it, and without arms too. So it was decided that he and Opal would take a week to make as much jewelry out of the gems as they excavated, and then finally return to Tal Village so they could sell them off and live there. Syrup was overjoyed that Mike finally felt confident enough to return to his real occupation, and that he finally got himself a real girlfriend to boot. During the week, Syrup bought herself another hat, similar to Mike's. He questioned her as to why she did such a thing, only for her to explain that after their adventure, her adventuring spirit had been reignited to continue adventuring after Mike and Opal leave, for the thrill of it, and to find and meet old friends and flames alike. The day came when Mike and Opal were to leave for Tal Village, but before Syrup could let him go, she gave her son three things. A stuffed toy in the shape of a teddy ursa that Maple was absolutely fond of during her childhood. Another glass flask filled with the purple liquid to give to that purple lizard, with the reason that at least he should be nice to the ladies he felt attached to, and a kiss on the cheek. She reminded him to come back straight home whenever he evolves to visit her, because I want to have a good look at what you'll become, ya hear? And with that, Mike and Opal left for Tal Village after a long but necessary reprieve. Yep, that's exactly what happens. Mike is definitely a loser. So, did I remember to put a specific story in this list? No, I didn't, which is strange, because that story has a bit of Syrup backstory, and it's going to be part of what we'll be reading next time. Let me see if I can find it. You'll be able to get a good look at it first here before we read it tomorrow. Yep, here it is. And here this is. Let me put it into an... No, actually, let's just put it in this tab since I don't need it. Here we go! Another Creeper Frog story, and it's Syrup backstory. And it's also one that was removed from the wiki! So that's going to be fun to read. Also, I will have to explain this Dragonite tomorrow. So, yep. Thanks for coming out to, watch me read about Creeper stuff. I will see you all tomorrow when we get to read more Creeper stuff. And then we get to read Marl and PK stuff. And then Luvachi stuff. I don't think any of these stories should last that long. So, we'll probably get... We'll get 3 stories down tomorrow, hopefully. Yep. Good night. Man, I still believe Shroomsworth would be good with kids. He would make a great father. Yeah.